So today we're doing Eberron. I thought it would be a nice challenge because this is actually a little bit of torture for me. Can you guys describe Eberron in less than 10 words? Or 10 words or less? You know?
Dinosaurs. That's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Hold on. Can I do this? I'm going to try to do this in 10 words.
You got this.
Yeah.
Magic, punk, high fantasy setting with dinosaurs, artificers, vehicles, period. And vehicles. There we go.
Yeah.
I did it in 10. Am I close?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
You took my one word, so I feel like I won.
Welcome to the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get.
Welcome back to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get. Today we're continuing our discussion on playable races in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm Adam, and with me today are Dave and Megan, and this episode is called Eberron Races, Dreaming Up Some Changes to Forge Ahead.
In this episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, this panel of Dungeon Masters will be sitting down to look at 3 of the 4 playable races that have been popular Eberron staples since 3.5.
Before we get started, Dave.
Yeah.
Everyone knows you're an Eberron guy.
Yeah.
The same way that Terry's a dragon guy.
Yeah.
And I'm an ass woman.
Originally that was supposed to be Kyle. I was trying to with that. He was supposed to be reading this. Sometimes I'm an ass man, and I wanted to watch him flounder.
This worked out better.
It worked out better. It worked better for me.
Yeah.
Can you pitch Eberron to the listeners to get them excited to basically to a player in that setting for a whole campaign?
I absolutely can. In fact, I did 14 whole episodes about it. You should go listen to those. If you're not stoked after that, it's not for you. But for real, this is everything that regular D&D isn't. The D&D mechanics, like the D20 system, all of this works really well in high fantasy. This takes that and amps it up to 100 and gives you close to modern day, almost industrial revolution style-y, kind of dirt and dark, but with magic as well kind of thing. As close as you get in legit Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Whenever we see in Harry Potter,
Harley.
Terry always yells at us for saying Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
So it's apparently it's Harry Potter. So,
Harry Potter.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm not even trying.
but every time that you see like the wizarding world outside of Hogwarts, where you have the like dumpy little huts and the cobblestone and the magic city where they buy all of their gear and shit, which I can never remember what it's called.
Diagon Alley?
There it is, yeah.
Diagonally.
Why do I know this?
But for whenever you see that, I feel like that could be in Eberron. Because it's very, magic is everywhere, and you can buy it. It's easy to pick up.
Yeah, you open a door and a dinosaur walks by, and you're not phased by that.
Yeah. Whereas in the Forgotten Realms, that would still phase you.
Yeah, that's messed up, yeah.
Yeah. Is that your whole pitch?
I mean, what else do you need? Like that sells it to me right there. It has such a rich history that written into it, there's prophecy that you can use, you don't have to. It starts off at a particular date and time in the world, right? And it gives you the history 1,000 years prior. Like, it's just so rich, and the political intrigue, the dragon marked houses. That's a campaign on its own, if not many, right?
Now, it hasn't come out yet, but we were recording an episode with Scott, one of the listeners, who gets to jump in and do mailbag. So I got Dave to come in. You guys just rambled about Eberron, and this question actually was in there as well, pitch it. And you guys floundered, if I remember correct. I haven't edited it yet, but you guys floundered for a while trying to describe it. You did a pretty good job, but it's always interesting listening to people try to pitch their favorite thing to other people.
I find that I get flustered when I do it.
Yeah, can you pitch giants?
They're great. I love them so much.
You wouldn't get it. Yeah.
They're super tall. And then some of them wear loincloths and some of them don't. And some of them are in their clouds.
Naked,
and some of them are in they're just great.
And you can change them.
I can make them better.
That was also a series.
If you want to check out information on giants, there is a giant series.
So before we babble on any further, let's cut to an info break.
We've previously covered quite a bit in our discussion on player options in 5th edition. For all of those episodes and more, you can follow or subscribe at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and dozens of other podcast apps. And if you'd like to support us, you can donate through the website, check out our store, or join our Patreon and get access to other episodes and series. If you'd like to pay for some ad space on It's a Mimic, or just send a shout out to a friend, please reach out to us through our email and website that are listed in the show notes below.
This Thursday on the It's a Mimic Patreon, Dave and Kyle sit down to review Candlekeep Mysteries. I know what you're thinking. Didn't you guys already do a Legend Lore on Candlekeep Mysteries? And yes, you're right, but back when it first came out, Dan and I ripped it a new one for not having enough content about Candlekeep itself. But, as Dave and Kyle found out as they explored the first half of the book with their D&D party, Candlekeep isn't really the point of that book. So, they're going to give it a far more measured and researched response. And then on Friday, we're throwing the sequel to this episode up on all the public channels so you can all hear us pop off about the many kinds of shifters in D&D, specifically Eberron. But for now, let's get back to the episode.
Alrighty, so we're leaving shifters for the next episode, but Eberron gives us 4 playable races. We're going to cover 3 of them today. We each have 1. Let's grab dice and roll initiative to see who's going to go first.
Okay. I got a 12.
I got 11.
I got a natural 20.
Must be nice.
I'm going last with an 11. That's pretty good.
Normally, people go first with a 6 on this podcast.
I know, that's weird.
I've seen some weird shit, guys.
Not even including the podcast. Like, Meg just seen
I've seen some shit.
So total fucking transparency here. I did not prep this portion of the episode. I think Kyle prepped it and then bailed. And so I'm going to be reading his notes. We're going to see how we do. But that's fun because it's Kalashtar, which are kind of weird and dreamy in the first place.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this is absolutely bizarre. I do know the Kalashtar. I've read up on them. But I decided not to take notes and just read his script. So we're going to see how he does here. Mm-hmm. Everybody write into Kyle and tell him if you did a good job.
Let us know if Kyle's script worked out.
It'd be messed up if Kyle didn't do this.
Yeah.
You know what? There's a part of me that's wondering like where it came from if Kyle didn't do it.
I have no idea. You know what?
It's just Brad, like, secretly prepping people's stuff.
It would have been Brad, Kyle, or Casey, and I think it's Kyle just based on how it's formatted.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know. I can see Brad doing this just to troll you.
Brad or Casey done it color-coded.
Okay.
Right?
I always highlight my shit. So, like, when I type stuff, it's always highlighted in my color.
And they do it that way, too.
Yeah.
Kyle, take notes. You can make your notes better. Yeah.
Feedback given.
Yeah.
So, Kalashtar. Kalashtar are probably the least popular of the playable races from Eberron. And as a matter of fact, they don't get a reprint when it came to Monsters of the Multiverse. And the only one from Eberron that didn't.
Yeah, they're kind of special. They do a lot of psionic mind kind of stuff, and that's not really in everybody's game.
And they were very much tied to psionic mechanics and stuff in previous editions. We don't have that now. We just have psionic. Just means you'll probably do psychic damage, and there's going to be weird mind fuckery. So, but it just uses our regular magic mechanics now in 5th edition. Mm-hmm. But here's what we know about them: they're a result of a fusion between human hosts and benevolent quarry spirits. Now, in Eberron, they have different planes, and one of the planes is the plane of dreams. And Quarry are essentially these semi-physical, semi-ethereal creatures that can visit you through your dreams, and they can haunt you through your dreams and from the dreamscape. And they're trying to manifest on Eberron itself. Right?
My kind of folks.
Yeah, except most of them, we only get stat blocks for the incredibly evil ones, and it's like CR5, CR12, CR19 or something. Like, there's a big jump.
My kind of folks.
Apparently, according to the Kalashtar lore, there are good quarry as well. That's the only place you ever hear about it, as far as 5th edition is concerned. As a matter of fact, we went through our entire Touring the Multiverse series, and at no point was I under the impression that any quarry were good. Yeah. So they were all just malevolent evil spirits that would possess people and take them over and whatnot. So, Kalashtar, though, are often depicted as protectors against evil Quarry. Quarry is Quori, if you need to look it up. And also the Inspired, who are the vessels, essentially, of the malevolent Quarry spirits. Kalashtar are an enigmatic and elegant race with a distinctive connection to the ethereal realm of dreams. They are characterized by being tall and slender. Kalashtar typically have, he has, like, here's the script. I love it, but he's got, like, little headings on it and shit, and I'm not used to this. Mine just, all right, anyways. Kalashtar are typically characterized by having tall and slender physiques, which add to their otherworldly and graceful appearance. Their most striking physical feature is their silver or amber-colored eyes, which seem to radiate a sense of inner tranquility. Kalashtar are known for their fine and almost luminous skin, giving them an ethereal and radiant quality, and they exude an innate sense of calm and serenity, reflecting their profound connection to the plane of dreams. The physicality and appearance of Kalashtar are integral to their identity and reinforce their connection to the realm of dreams and spirits. These distinctive features make them stand out in the diverse world of Dungeons & Dragons. In 5th edition, Kalashtar are portrayed as the result of a fusion between human hosts and benevolent Quarry spirits. They have strong psionic abilities and often serve as protectors against the evil ones.
Those are some good notes, Kyle. Like legit, my notes are just like humanoid, tall, right? Like, that's as best as I can.
I wrote some great notes.
I'm one or the other. It's either bullet point, and I will get my whole thought process down in 10 words or less. Or fewer, I guess, or it's a 55-page script. There's nothing in between.
I write scripts.
Yeah. In previous editions of D&D, particularly in the Eberron campaign setting, Kalashtar were introduced as a unique race with the connection to spirits from Dalquor, which is the plane of dreams. This connection, along with their creation evolution, is pretty much what their lore is all about. Kalashtar were initially created as a means of defense against the evil ones, which I said before, and the Inspired, which we have a stat block for in Rising from the Last War. The Inspired are human vessels who allowed themselves to be possessed by malevolent Quarry spirits from Dalquor, granting them extraordinary powers. These malevolent Quarry sought to manipulate and control the mortal world, especially the continent of Sarlona. What's the continent of Sarlona, Dave?
So there's 4 continents on Eberron. There's Corvair, which is where everything happens. There's Zendrick, which is where the giants happen. Megan, that's where you'd be more comfortable.
Love giants.
Argonasin is dragons, and Sarlona is kind of the...
Like the
Kalashtar,
kind of
well, it's more Kalashtar dreamscape.
Is that like what's really far east in Game of Thrones? Like it's weird and shadowy, and we don't really know what goes on over there.
Yeah, when you look at the map, because it's it's a globe, but it's just in the page, a big square. You got Sarlona kind of in the top right corner, and then you got Corvair in the top left, Zendrick below that, and Argonasin in the top or bottom right. And then you've got I can't think of the elf islands with all the dead elves. That kind of sits right in the middle.
Oh yeah. Where the Alinar
starts with
elves.
an A.
Yeah, Erenal?
Yes, something like that.
Urinal?
No.
Sorry.
Elves don't pee.
What?
That's why they're always blonde.
Incorrect.
What? Okay.
Oh, it's seeping out of them?
Yeah. The Kalashtar's unique origin lies in the fusion of a human soul with a malevolent spirit. We know, man.
We know.
But you are also the person that pauses the podcast more than anybody else to run to the bathroom. So we know that you're not a Kalashtar.
That's true.
Or an elf. So the blending of spirits grant Kalashtar their distinctive characteristics, including their unique appearance, mental abilities, and deep spiritual connection. Dave, do you know what the Dreaming Dark is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It has to do with the Kalashtar religion, essentially, about the plane of dreams. It's relatively vague. I believe that Exploring Eberron and the other one that Keith Baker recently released gets into that a little bit more, but in the true 5th ed material, it's not really talked about or supported that much. But Kalashtar, with their connection to benevolent Quarry spirits, are seen as protectors against the machinations of the organization known as the Dreaming Dark. And that's who's bringing the Quarry in and who these Inspired are, right? It's their faction.
Okay.
So they were instrumental in combating the influence of the Inspired, often serving as psionic warriors and defenders of the innocent. Over different source books and campaign settings, the lore and abilities of Kalashtar have evolved. In some editions, they gained an increased emphasis on psionics, telepathy, and resistance to psychic influences, reflecting their spiritual and psionic nature. nature. Their abilities often emphasize the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment and a quest to maintain balance between their human and quarry spirits that inhabit them. Kalashtar's existence has been tied to the complex cosmology of Eberron, where the influence of different planes and the interplay between spirits, psionics, and dreams play a central role in the narrative. Their presence add layers of depth to the overarching themes and the campaign setting. The lore of Kalashtar from before 5th ed provides a rich foundation for storytelling, exploring themes of duality, spirituality, and the struggle against malevolent forces. It showcases their evolution from being created as a defense against the inspired to being champions of balance and protectors of the material world against incursions from the dreaming dark and other quarry. This intricate backstory allows players to engage with complex character dynamics and explore the mysteries of the plane of dreams in the world of Eberron. Common stereotypes for them may include expectations of a Kalashtar's serene and calm demeanor, their psionic abilities, and their spiritual nature. People might expect them to be introspective, wise, and aloof due to their connection to the plane of dreams. These stereotypes can be used as a foundation for character development, but can also be subverted or evolved for more complex character stories. In 5th edition, we have a simple stat breakdown, and the book, Eberron Rising from the Last War, is the only place you'll find this, like I said before. However, this was before that whole you can choose 3 stat increases of whatever you want by 1, or 2 in any one you like and 1 in any other one you like, which is how all character creation is done now.
Yeah.
This one leads you into +2 to wisdom, +1 to charisma. That kind of gives you a feel for who they would be, right?
Yeah.
They're medium size, of course they are. Their speed is 30 feet. And they have what's called dual mind, which is advantage on wisdom saving throws to resist being frightened. They've got another feature called mental discipline, which gives them proficiency in 1 intelligence-based skill, and mind link, which as a bonus action establishes a telepathic link with a willing creature, keyword willing, within 60 feet, and you can communicate telepathically with them. However, they are also severed from dreams, which means that Kalashtar sleep, but they don't connect to the plane of dreams as other creatures do. Instead, their minds draw from the memories of their otherworldly spirit while they sleep, and as such, they're immune to spells and other magical effects that require you to dream, like dream, but not to spells and other magical effects that put you to sleep, like sleep.
That seems weird. I would say that you couldn't put them to sleep.
They very much do require sleep, but it's a dreamless sleep where they're communicating with their spirits.
I don't know. I feel like if you have that much power over your mind brain, that you couldn't put them to sleep.
What's interesting here is that in previous editions, it wasn't just the Kalashtar that was running the show. This spirit was far more in the forefront as well. That, like, you were 2 minds sharing 1, which is where this kind of weird rule comes from.
Yeah, fair enough.
They can speak, read, and write Common, Quarry, so there's another language we didn't know we needed, and 1 other language of your choice.
Quarry is its own language?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, when it comes to the idea about role-playing, there are some things to think about, which are like embracing a composed demeanor and calm presence, even when you're surrounded by stress, exploring the balance and tension between your human and quarry spirit aspects, using telepathy for silent collaboration and emotional sharing with the party, displaying unwavering resolve in the face of fear, offering support to allies, and occasionally seeking internal counsel from your quarry spirit. You're a team player. You prioritize cooperation, empathy, and support for the party's unity. You're not going to get many murder hobos out of the Kalashtar.
Yeah.
When it comes to combat, you're focusing on your mind powers. You can utilize your psionic abilities and telepathy to communicate silently with allies to coordinate attacks. You can share information. You can strategize. You can give warnings without giving away your position to enemies. But you also should take advantage of the fact that you have resistance to psychic effects. This can make you a formidable opponent against foes employing mental attacks, illusions, or charm spells. This is not just quarry, this is a lot of aberrations. And that's what we have for Kalashtar. So, let's grab dice. I got questions.
Got 11.
I'm just talking to myself this whole episode.
Yeah, go for it.
So with a 15, what do you think the Kalashtar settlements look like? And if I can be perfectly honest, I don't know. I've never seen what the Sarlona, this far off area, looks like. Mm-hmm. But I do know that the Kalashtar that are present in Corvair, they're clean, they are specific, they are to the point, they are functional, but they are not just, like, they're still going to have beaded curtains, right? Like, they are very much calm, relaxed hippies that are not going to freak out.
The cleanly hippies.
Yeah.
The ones that shower.
The one that showers.
That showers, yeah.
So when I think about their settlements and whatnot, I assume that they want to see the stars, right? Just because stars and divination and telepathy and mind powers all tend to go together. Mm-hmm. I know that there are 13 moons in Eberron as well, so I'm sure that they would probably have a deep connection to the different cycles and phases of the moons. And I feel like it doesn't specifically say it anywhere, but I want them to have a thin, long sword above the mantle that they are willing to just come out of retirement to grab at any given point. Like, they just feel like psychic warriors, right?
Yeah. Like, they're all trained at one point in their lifetime, but they don't use it if they don't have to.
Yeah, they are the retired samurai.
Yeah.
Right? Or, if they're in Corvair, they're probably a Ronin, right?
Yeah.
So...
No, I like the idea that they do live in, like, very pristine quarters, but I do feel like, in my brain, I see it as in nature, almost, though. Like, because they need to be in touch with, like, their surroundings more, and I feel if they were to be in large concrete buildings, they wouldn't be able to be connected.
Well, there's so much that's based on the idea of them protecting communities as well, so I feel like they would be in these large concrete buildings, but on the top level, like the other ones in the penthouse, right?
Yes, with, like, the open sky ceiling. And
you're not going to find one of these guys living in a basement.
No, like, they're not going to be, in my mind, like, underground dwellers. They're gonna need, like, the sunshine and then, like, the moon cycles. And I do like the idea if you come across, like, a colony of these ones being together, that, they celebrate the moon phases. And so if you're gonna have, like, a sidebar episode, it'd be really neat to visit them for a very specific celebration, or, just to have, like, a spiritual come to your religion moment, right? So, like, I feel like if you're trying to connect with your god as, like, a character that is more on the religious side, this would be a place that you would go to give worship to whatever god you want to. Because I feel like they're not going to judge you either, right? No. They're just connected to nature. Whatever you believe, but it's a nice, like, it's almost like going to a spa. Is the way I picture in my head. Babbling brooks and, like hot tubs and, like...
It's funny because the thing that I keep coming back to over and over again is Dorne from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like Arabian-inspired gardens and fountains.
Yeah, so the way that I've always had this in my head is more like, you ever see, like, the Greek pantheon in their, in their big, beautiful white towers with white marble everywhere, and, like, big statues. And, well, very, very much, that kind of thing. Like, everything is very sunny and bright, almost not sun bleached, like very crisp still, but, like, very exposed and open,
like luminous, and it's
right. And it's just everything is clean and just pristine.
Yeah,
and I really feel like they have prestidigitation. Like, even if you're playing this character and you are fighting mud methods in, like, the swamps, everyone else is going to walk out just like a bedraggled run through the fucking mud. And you're going to walk out like fucking Legolas.
Yeah.
Right?
Untouched.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he walks across the top of the mud, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Party roles that these guys seem particularly well suited to fill. With wisdom and charisma, I mean, they make natural paladins and clerics.
Yep.
I could see them being rangers as well with the +2 to wisdom, and then having that charisma for your, like, animal handling and that kind of shit as well. These kind of things make a lot of sense. I could absolutely see a Kalashtar that tries to wave off everybody else and kneel down in front of the agitated animal and just calms it quietly with telepathy and we're okay, we're not here to hurt you, right? That's a very Kalashtar moment. But I could also see them very, very easily being wizards and bards.
Yeah. Even
though the stats don't support that, the lore really feels like having that extra level of knowledge. Also, do you think Warlock makes sense for them because I've got these spirits as well?
Look, I think you can make an argument for just about any class because you have just rattled off like 80% of them, right?
Yeah. So. But I do agree you could probably do anything with these ones and find a way to make it work.
I don't think they fit fighter, barbarian.
I don't know. I think that if they're a retired warrior, they could.
But yeah,
they have to defend themselves somehow. They're not stupid.
Having an assassin would make a lot of sense.
Yes.
Having a thief, though,
no.
Interesting. Like that is a Kalashtar that's turned their back on the system, right?
Yeah.
But I also have trouble with Artificer. I don't see these guys tinkering, wielding hammers so much, right?
No, they're more of the spiritual world, not the mechanical world. Right?
Yeah, if they're gonna be an artificer, they're gonna make things. I feel they're gonna weave and braid,
infuse with magic, and
like
stuff like that.
So.
Yeah. That's why I thought I was gonna say druid was gonna be a good fit, but I feel like that's because I'm just so tied to the fact that they're connected to nature in some way, shape, or form naturally.
Yeah,
but.
Well, I was going to say the last class that we haven't mentioned yet is Monk.
Down.
I think that Monk does fit quite well. They've got that almost, monastic calmness to them. I feel like, you know,
they would make really good aberrant soul sorcerers as well, right? Because they're all psychic and shit. Mm-hmm. We started to get more psychic subclasses coming out in like Tashes and later stuff. So I think there's a little bit there for everybody. Although, you know, we said probably not barbarian, but there's the Path of the Ancestral Guardian.
Mm-hmm. There's a case to be made. Right?
Yeah.
I think there's a case for all of them, which is very different for this one.
I'm not
except for Artificer, which is the one that comes with Eberron.
You refuse.
So when it comes to quests specifically, do we have a quick quest or plot hook or something that is going to suit the Kalashtar in your party? And the thing for me, obviously that's going to tie right in, is there's so many cults in D&D. This one comes in hard-baked with the Dreaming Dark as an opponent. Mm-hmm. So even if you're doing any other sort of campaign, even one of the written campaigns, and they've got some sort of, like if you're running Rise of Tiamat, for example, you could absolutely have Quarry in there and the Inspired, who are trying to fulfill the prophecy that they've had in the dreams, right? The Plane of Dreams. But if you're sticking to Eberron specifically, the Plane of Dreams is so interesting because I feel like that's where the Draconic Prophecy, the truth about the Mournland, all of that shit, people have had to have dreamt that up or have to have had nightmares about it. The Plane of Dreams might be where you go to find that info. And maybe this Kalashtar player is the one protecting that information or is going to quest to find it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I now that you mentioned that monk is a good one that fits, I was just and I was leaning into the more spiritual aspect of it too. A good quest line would be, this is where one of your players or your Kalashtar in your party is going to find spiritual enlightenment, and you have to spend a very specific amount of time in this place for that to happen. But weird things start happening because they're so connected to the dream realm. For anyone else who is not spiritually connected are having a hard time here. And so then you have to navigate how thin that veil is and what their experience is, while one player is actually having like a grand old time finding their spiritual enlightenment. Everyone else is having a shit ass time trying to navigate the darkness.
Just reveling in it while everyone else is struggling.
Yeah, but like it's a good way to bring in, like, if you have a player at your table with like a very spiritual, like historical background, like I think it's a good way to tie in their background and like their backstory, but then also make it interesting for everybody else at the table, because there is that weird thin veil between the real and, you know, the dream realm.
Have you ever played Mysterium?
No.
Kalashtar remind me of the board game Mysterium.
A little bit.
Yeah,
just like really cryptic.
The whole premise of it is that one person is a ghost and everyone else is ghostly investigators, and you're trying to point out the circumstances of which you died, but you provide cards that are just like metaphor, and they've got to figure out why you're giving them these cards which represent visions.
It'll be a card with like a child's tricycle and like a kite flying in the wind, and you give that card to try to tell someone that this was, you know, I was killed by the gun because, you know, the
tricycle is red and so is the handle of the gun, and like it's so fucking bad. You're trying to figure out what other people are thinking.
As the ghost, wild. You only get like 5 cards, so you have to like make.
It does sound familiar. Yeah. Like,
we should play it sometime, Meg. I think you'd have a fucking blast.
You know what? Let's just bail on this. Go get the game.
Yeah, shut this down.
Fuck.
Right. Where were we? What? Unique. I mean, the Dreaming Dark is built right into this. This is where you go with it. You want a big overarching campaign? They lay it out right for you. Mm-hmm. Other than that, there's all sorts of fun dream stuff you can do. You know, you wander into a town, people are having strange nightmares, things are affecting things in certain ways. You've got the Quarry built right into this. The dual personalities almost. Like, there's so much to work with there. Finding out who you are. Where maybe this Inspired has the Quarry. What's the history of the Quarry? You know, this particular one, right?
I would really myself be homebrewing. All 3 of the Quarry are very differently themed as well. Like, they're all dream monsters, but the big one is really fucking scary looking, and it's crazy. I would be homebrewing 10 or 12 other kinds, so I'm consistently throwing dream assassins at my player as well.
Yeah.
I gotta keep Dan on his toes anyways.
Yeah.
Dream assassin.
Any role-playing tips for these guys? Clearly the idea is to be calm and serene and always be the voice of reason in the group. But that doesn't always mean you're right. It just means that you are presenting yourself as a calm person and people will think you're right. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an interesting distinction to make, especially at a D&D table like ours, where some people will just yell back and forth for 25 minutes about what the next step should be.
Dan.
I don't know
And
what you're
Charlie,
talking about.
and Megan and Mieka.
To be fair, I yell at the end and say, fuck it, we're doing this.
Well, and Casey and Dave sit back and say almost nothing for the majority of it. But then to have them sit back and listen and then say at the very end, now I do believe that going left is the correct decision. That would absolutely fucking stop the argument. As everybody else is screaming over each other, to have one person like raise a hand and then present a calm opinion. No supporting facts.
Yeah.
Just a calm opinion.
And
Zenthos did that. He was confidently incorrect all the time.
I feel like it's like that calm demeanor, though. It's like when you're in a Zoom meeting and someone clicks the raise your hand button, but no one's paying attention to it.
Yeah.
But they're also just sitting there waiting for their turn quietly and patiently.
I am unfamiliar with this wait quietly for your turn shit. I just edited the last mailbag episode with you and Dan and Kyle. I edited that earlier today. And I'm telling you, there's not a calm moment in that entire clusterfuck.
No.
Until Dan turns to Dave and says, you haven't said anything in 20 minutes. Dave's like, yep.
Correct.
Well done, Daniel.
Megan, role-playing inspo?
So I really wanted to think that not only are they calm and collected, but I feel like they're natural empaths because they have so much connection to like the energies that are around them. So if you are playing this as a player or even just as an NPC as a DM, you would have an emotional awareness of what's going on in all of your players' minds. And so you are going to be attentive to that. And you're not going to be, and you're going to be pretty blunt about it too. You're like, you look very worried today. I wonder what that might be about. And you'd be like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
like you just like point, and because you as a DM kind of know what your characters have been through.
Yeah.
So you can kind of like pick up on those potential like small nuanced emotions that they don't really want to show at the table.
Like just not after an encounter, but like as everybody is waking up and making breakfast after their long rests and shit.
Yeah.
And the Kalashtar character just walks up and says, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. Starts crying. I'm so glad you asked.
Like if you blindside someone like Dan with that, he would say, yes, why? And it's like, just had a feeling. And then you do it again about 3 sessions later. By the 4th or 5th time you do this, Dan's got a fucking complex and he's not going to be like, why is my character fucked up and how does this person know it?
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely wonderful.
How much time out of your average day do you devote to giving Dan a series of these complexes that he has?
At this point,
Yeah.
less than 15 seconds. I've got 4 or 5 things just rolling. They're just on
30 years of progress.
It's on a rotation. We're good. Yeah.
We're holding now until his ego gets out of check again. He is currently on a timeout in the Discord, the Patreon Discord, because his ego got in the way. So
Can I put him on timeouts in the Discord?
no, but I can put you on timeouts in the Discord.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but why would I? Because you put yourself on timeouts for weeks at a time.
I deserve them.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a timeout.
Yeah.
Dave, role-playing inspiration?
I mean, these guys are natural leaders. You want to have a mouthpiece to your party. I think that these guys can be that. But they always kind of gave me like almost like a, not from an emotionless standpoint, but from a logical standpoint, a very Vulcan feel.
Yep.
That was going to be my next question. Can you think of a character in pop culture that is coded to be a Kalashtar?
Spot.
Yes, Tuvok.
I was actually thinking Counselor Troy when I thought of Star Trek.
Oh yeah, that's a good one actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Betazoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Trek. I know a lot about that.
Yes.
No, but like I feel like the Jedi Council would be a lot of Kalashtar as well. The calm, like the elders of the Jedi Council as well.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that.
Oh,
What?
sorry. You're talking about other things. I thought you were skipping from Star Trek to Star Wars, and I was a little like, excuse me? I understand what you're doing now, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
I swapped intellectual properties.
Yeah.
This was not an error on my
No,
part.
I acknowledge that. Yes, I thought you had. And
The other one that
about
sticks
to
out to
backhand
me...
you.
You were ready.
Yeah.
Have you watched Buffy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Drusilla, when she first shows up and she's all dreamy and weird, I think is a Kalashtar as well.
Okay, I can see that.
That's okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I came. Like, that's my headspace on that. Galadriel would be, I mean, clearly elf, but not a bad choice as well, because she's all dreamy and weird.
Mm-hmm. A little aloof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now my final question is, would you play one of these?
I would. I think it would be a lot of fun.
No, I've never, ever. I've played an Eberron for years, and I've never once used a Kalashtar.
Never even been tempted
No,
to?
fuck that.
High charisma character? Fuck that.
Yeah, no.
I have been a Kalashtar in one-shots. This has been a thing. As a matter of fact, did I do it in one of our online? I think I might have been a Kalashtar in like a Christmas special or something.
Oh.
So I like Kalashtar quite a bit. I think they're very strange and weird.
I have no problem with them in general. I just don't want to run psionics, especially when I was doing 3.5.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Like, I'm not...
3.5 I absolutely would not.
Zero chance, not going to happen.
No.
And that just kind of followed through. Also, I haven't really played a true Eberron 5th edition yet, so...
And if you're going to play Warforged.
Probably.
Which is the next thing we're talking about, so...
No, I think maybe
Technically, it's my turn next.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, numbers are hard, though, hey?
Hey, it's not the numbers, it's the memory. I just don't care to remember, because I know you will correct me.
I feel like that was such a good segue, though. Like,
Yeah. Speaking of Warforged, Megan, Changelings.
Changing it up, yeah.
Yeah. Did you like the title of this? I tried to include all of it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Fuck.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about changelings, not Warforged. Changelings are exactly as they kind of sound. They are humanoid beings that can change their appearance and disguise themselves as different people or folks. Physically, they, in traditional form, are described as being super pale and very colorless. So, like gray hair, like white eyes, brightly colored eyes, that kind of stuff. Very pale skin, so on and so forth. They are medium, sized humanoids, so I kind of imagine them being also, like, slim and slender if you want them to, but...
Sorry, I'm just going to pause you for a sec. What's interesting is that they're very pale in the Eberron artwork when you see them when they're changing, but in the Monster of the Multiverse, when they get reprinted, they almost look like Drow. Their skin is so dark gray.
Yeah, I've always kind of seen them as more grayish than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just feeling like colorless is the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like doppelgangers are. For the same reason.
Even in the Eberron book, it's described as they look like a doppelganger in their regular form.
Okay, cool.
So, but at the end of the day, you're rarely going to see them in this form. In fact, most changelings will have a generic, what they call a mask, that they use in their everyday life, and probably have multiple usable personas that they rotate through depending on their mood or situation. So, like, for example, if they might have a negotiator persona that they play when they have to have hard conversations. They might have like a stronger, more buff, scary looking thing if they need to be intimidating, so on and so forth. So they could have multiples, but they tend to have one mask that they keep as their regular go-to. When it comes to kind of their lore, it is neat to know that they exist in 3 possible scenarios when it comes to Eberron. They're either orphaned and never meet anyone of their kind, and they're kind of on their own, or they're born to a colony and they play a very specific role, or they just come from a very particular family and bloodline that blends into their surroundings, and they stay hidden. So when choosing a changeling, it is kind of ideal to determine what kind of upbringing they may have had, because that's going to kind of determine what your character does from there, such as like, are they prone to hiding? Are they proud of who they are? Like that kind of thing, right?
So when you choose urchin or noble, it's going to matter which one of these.
It's going to matter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Finally.
Finally, the backgrounds matter.
Like, to be fair, like, for instance, in Eberron itself, you find that changelings are inherently feared or disliked because they are associated with spies or thievery due to their trickery physical appearance. And it's just because, like, people are afraid of them.
Look, one of the 12 main houses is one of espionage. That makes perfect sense.
That they'd fit in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a big theme in Eberron is the espionage side. And we got changelings and shifters. Like, 2 of the 4 are,
Yeah, and
I know shifters don't really change the same way, but...
Yeah, and then the Kalashtar are all about dreams and shit. Like, information is power. And especially when you've got conspiracies and prophecies and
noble houses vying for power with a fractured political, landscape.
And what happened to the 13th noble house? And what was this calamity that happened in the Mournland? And wasn't there a king that has been deposed, but nobody knows it, and they're replaced with a doppelganger? That was in the book.
Spoiler alert.
How dare you spoil?
That's in the opening premise. Okay.
Nobody reads those.
But that does bring me to the typical stereotype of these characters, is that in fact, in some writing it is known that the humans and elves specifically have a sour taste in their mouth due to the fact that they have that shape-shifting capability, and it makes them nervous. But in a switch and flip part of that, changelings can now be a part of any society, which I feel as a player and as a DM is inherently useful because they can shift into their regular mask or a mask that is required for them to like infiltrate a society for an extended period of time, replace a king like they have in the past, and do all of those things, right? You can replace a guild master, you can infiltrate anything if you have one of them on your team, right? It is also neat to note here that they do age a heck of a lot faster than a regular human, but have a similar lifespan. So
they become just wrinkly?
Yeah. I guess it doesn't really explain what that means precisely, but I'm assuming it just means that their body ages. But because they're shifters and changers, like they can make themselves look younger.
I wonder if that was meant so that they reach maturity by like they're full-blown adults at the age of 12 so that they can just blend in with society.
Yeah, like they had to grow up really fast, learn
Yeah.
how to blend in is also another way to look at that, right?
Well, they do have limitations on the way they can shift, right? And the way they can change.
I'll get into that.
Okay.
There's really not a whole heck of a lot of limitations. But the last kind of piece here is that they are inherently neutral. They're not evil in any way, shape, or form, which is very interesting to read because they are pegged as these.
Well, they're a blank slate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can basically mold them into anything that you want.
You can change them.
But going
I
into
get it.
Oh, okay, gentlemen. All right, so going into like some of their bonuses and mechanics for stats and their ability scores, it's charisma with a 2 and then 1 of any choice. So again, kind of a clean slate. And then of course they get just a classic humanoid walking speed of 30. Congratulations. But then it gets to the abilities that receive the actual shape changer ability, which is basically they can take any form of any species or creature as long as they have a similar makeup of limbs.
Love it.
Along with you cannot go up or down a size.
Does that mean that they couldn't change into someone who's like an amputee? Is that a good way to like check if they're a changeling?
Yeah, but could they just check so, like, if they've got a wooden leg, can they just make their leg look like
wooden?
a wooden peg leg?
I would say no, because that's not
No, but
fleshy, right?
but prosthetic limbs. Does it have to be fleshy?
No, that's me hand waving because I like Eberron and
Yeah,
I've made decisions.
At the end of the day, it says a similar
Yeah.
makeup of limbs.
So similar, but not exact.
No. So as long like it's got to be like similar, but I mean you could have longer, shorter, skinnier, taller legs. Like
Do you have to, and it's medium size, or can you go up and down?
you have to stay within the range that you are. So if you are a medium-sized creature or changeling, you can only shift into medium-sized.
Yeah, my understanding is that you couldn't use your change ability to try to fit through a narrow passageway or anything like that.
But that seems ridiculous because you have dwarves and Goliaths are both medium-sized creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So you could change your height that far, but not down to gnome.
Correct.
Okay.
Mechanically correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to have a limit somewhere. We might as well just draw it there. So, okay.
And this form in particular can be kept as long as you goddamn want. You can even just be that until you die or until you choose to change it. There's no time limit on it. You also get Changeling Instincts, which is a proficiency bonus you get to pick 2 between Deception, Insight, Intimidation, and Persuasion. I thought that this was kind of neat since you are getting more of the inherently quote-unquote evil traits to have proficiency in, even though they're meant to be neutral. But again, that kind of dictates their ability to manipulate people's perception of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
For languages, you get Common and 2 other languages, so you can very much, once again, customize your changelings to where they were where their upbringing was. When it comes to role-playing and things like this, when you think about potentially using this as a PC or an NPC as a DM, I do agree that you kind of have to consider 3 main things. 1, your upbringing. Do you hide? Do you not hide? Do you wear your permanent mask or not? Do you have multiple personas or do you just have the one? Like, these are a lot of things to take into consideration. I feel like with these ones, alignment is going to be important. Yes, they are inherently neutral, but I feel like you're going to kind of have to pick a path with one of these.
Sure.
And I feel like that is because you're probably going to be navigating in an area and a play space where your upbringing is going to be a very contentious conversation for some folks, and you kind of have to be prepared for what direction you're going to take when you're encountered with those kinds of conversations. Another one I think you got to consider is family and friends. Are you a solo act or do you play well with others? I don't think this one inherently you have to play well with others, kind of like the Kalashtar we talked about.
Sure.
But I do think that you have to take in consideration how you respond to the public and if you do make friends easily, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, for some possible combat tactics, you do really want to lean into the fact that they can shift and change their appearance. And this could be very useful to the team even to avoid altercations as a whole or to cause a problem. But yes, at the end of the day, my final point was that you can either use them to avoid altercations or you can use them to get into a fight. So
Cool.
yeah, those are changelings.
All right, let's roll initiative. These numbers are hard.
This chair is scaring the shit out of me.
15.
Critical fail.
3.
I'm talking to myself again. All right, same order.
Yeah.
What would their settlements look like? But I guess that depends on which one you've got, right?
It really does.
It depends on your background more than actually your playable race here.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a non-starter question. Although I will say this, just because I like the theme of it, I want there to be, and I'm tying this into kind of setting and environment a little bit, I want to give one a pet mimic. And they have a stat block for that now. And I just think that it would be cool that the changeling has just a little creature that's like no bigger than like a softball that can turn into other small items and whatnot. And that it would like feed mice and shit too, like you'd feed a snake. So
My players would abuse that.
yeah, probably. But if you keep it as like, remember Charlie's character when he was Zale had an octopus that lived in his watery eyeball?
Yeah.
Right? And the octopus meant nothing. It was just
Literally
a cute,
nothing. It was
cute
flavor.
little bit, right?
Yeah.
The same deal with this cute little pet mimic that would just, when I ask you, what are you doing during your watch overnight? Well, I'm going to pull out my pet mimic and try to teach it tricks while I'm staying awake and watch the campfire, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, my players will say we're going to drag the bodies into a pile and get it to hide the evidence while we're sleeping tonight.
Yeah, but it's the size of a softball. It's not going to eat its way through 10 bodies, right?
Will it?
I also
Won't it?
feel like you have to understand, like, as a DM, you could kind of mitigate that in the sense where this
of
is a
course.
fragile creature. If you want to do that, a bird's gonna pluck it out of the sky. It's gonna eat it. Like you can punish them for being twats.
I feel so bad for the fucking hawk that comes down to scoop up a mimic. And it's just like, because they're sticky, right? Like the talons hit, and then the bird tries to take off and just slaps into the side of it just from sheer momentum. The majestic caw of a fucking, like the screech of an eagle, and then just a scream and a crunch.
Yeah. I love it.
The feathers.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, so then party rolls. This is clearly your spy.
Oh yeah, big
Yeah.
time.
Rogue, big rogue energy.
Also, though, could be the face of the party as well. This could be big bard energy too, right?
Yep.
So, how many times in our campaign currently, Dan is playing a bard. He's one of the 3 fucking bards at the table. Thank God that neither of you 2 picked bard yet. So,
Oh, I was meaning to talk to you about my level up.
we have a side chat. Yeah.
We're gonna bar.
but how often has Dan...
Howdy, Bardner.
Stop.
Fuck. How often has Dan tried to, like, step up and be the face of whatever's happening? Even when it's not his turn, it has nothing to do with him. He just wants to be that guy.
Yeah.
Right? The Changeling lets him be that guy. I'm sorry, this was for elves only. You gotta fuck off, Dan. Oh, I'm an elf now. Fuck.
Damn it.
Right? Like, I just do think that some bards would, I don't want to say abuse, but would use the shit out of this ability. Whereas a lot of, your tanks are probably not.
No.
Yeah, you can use this to not just sneak around, but you can also use it to smooth talk, right?
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Any other party roles that you could see here for these guys?
They can be anything they want, right? That's the beauty of them. They've got it all built in. It's how you want to flavor it, right? Even with the neutral, alignment, like they come in as literally a blank slate. Make them what you want.
Yeah.
Really.
Your upbringing is anything. So, yeah, and again, it goes back to that customizable ability score as well, because you just get your +2 and then you can pick your next one in anything that you want, right? However, your proficiencies do end up in more like the intimidation charisma side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do a monk with this one, weirdly enough. I would think that would
This seems to be your answer for everything these days.
Well, I didn't choose monk before. That was this man over here.
It took him to say the literally 4 letters, and you're like, yes, monk. That was the one.
Monks are great. Even though, mechanically I hate monks. I just really like the idea of monks.
I completely agree.
Anyway, that's a whole different episode.
Dave, any particular party roles for these guys, or?
I know, like I said, they fit. Where they can wear many hats, right?
Yeah. A specific quest for them. Again, it depends on their background, like where they're coming from. Are they from a established house with this is the bloodline and they're just out for regular adventuring stuff? They're part of a community they're protecting? Or are they just sitting in the roadside tavern saying nowhere better to be because they're always on the run from shit? Like,
I don't think they would always be on the run because they can just assume another identity.
yeah, that's what I mean by on the run, is they're never going to put down roots.
They never have a home, is how I'm imagining it.
Yeah.
It's like they're constantly shifting and changing, but keeping themselves protected, right? And I think that I like the idea that your character lives in fear of staying in a place for too long, and that's why they're an adventurer. But they are one of those ones that's kind of on their own. They've never met those of their own kind. They just know that they are not of the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're actually seeking out a colony or a cluster of them to learn more about their history.
Mhm.
And I like the idea that the settlement, that when they walk into it, is just this natural aura of them constantly shifting and changing, because it's a natural feeling to do it.
Almost like it's an emotional response.
Yeah, if they're happy to see you, they'll have their happy persona on, and also if you piss them off, they just change shape completely.
And maybe it would be something as simple as wristbands so that you know who is who.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they all have to wear a fucking name tag in the community because for outsiders' purposes, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone in the community will get to know your 4 or 5 personas. They'll know who you are. right?
Yeah.
The quest that I just came up with off the top of my head was not so much a quest, but a complication for a murder mystery. Someone has died. Their body has shown up, and it's like you're going about whatever it is that you're doing, and you come across a desiccated old body of someone who's like the mayor. But the mayor is actually walking around just fine right now, and it was just an opportunistic changeling that saw that this person was dead, shoved their body down the well to step into a place of prominence, and took over, and no one fucking noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've been here for, I don't know, 4 years, and they've done a pretty good job. Everyone remembers, well, they used to be gruff and ornery, but now they're friendly and they listen, and the community's thrived since. But maybe they murdered this guy? How did they come across this body, right? So what do you do with this? This is the kind of shit that I like.
It's a nice classic whodunit, but with a changeling.
And especially if the changeling didn't do it, they were just an opportunist.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, got a quest?
I mean, these guys are built for espionage, and as is this entire world, right? So, infiltrate, that kind of thing. That's where I would lean into with this. That's what I want to do. One of the things I had with Kyle, because he, who was originally supposed to do Changeling, played one in our Thursday group way back. But, we actually worked it out a little bit. We were trying to get him to be Yek, the 30 whatever, King of the Goblins. Yeah. And he was going to lead a goblin revolution and, make things better for goblins. Because they get the short end of the stick all the time.
I get it.
And it's absolutely ridiculous because they deserve better. They're people too.
Talk to your goblins.
Jesus. It's been a while, Megan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I like that. Role-playing hints. You don't have to do voices.
No.
Sometimes what you can do is just describe the persona, the physicality, and write it out ahead of time. If you're going to play a changeling, write it out so that you've got a quick cheat sheet for this is what this guy sounds like, and he's got a deep booming voice, and you can say, in my deep booming voice, I say this.
Yep.
Right? You don't have to do voices and mannerisms and other shit. It's fun if you want to, but I think Changeling might be intimidating for some people to play.
Yeah, you don't have to overcomplicate it.
No.
I think that's a good thing to say. Because again, you don't have to do the multi-persona thing. You
No.
can have one mask that you wear on a regular basis, and that's what your public facing is. And then in the comfort of other folks or in your group, eventually one day, maybe you do drop that and it's a big change for them.
Yeah, the Changeling aspect doesn't need to be every session.
It's not who you are,
Right.
Like, you're more than just a changeling.
It's more than skin deep. Yeah.
God damn. Is that our role-playing advice for this? Okay. Fuck. I have a question. Can they change their voices as well?
It does say that, they can change everything about them to be perceived completely differently.
Basically. I don't need, a microchip, in Face Off,
no.
to be able to...
Because I feel like if you're changing your physical appearance, you can change your vocal cords. That's how I'm seeing is if you can change your physical body to the point of you are looking exactly like somebody else or something different, your vocal cords will change. However, I think the funny part would be is that even though you can change to look exactly like somebody else, you may not match their vocal cords exactly. So that might be the clue that yes, you now have a loud booming voice, but it might not quite match the Goblin King you're trying to replace. And their vizier is going to be like, I'm sorry.
Always be suspicious of the king whose personality slightly shifted, and he just has a cold right now.
Under the weather.
Yeah. So, here's my next question. Pop culture. What are your inspirations?
For a changeling?
Yeah.
I mean, Nightcrawler is what comes into my mind right away from, X-Men.
No, Mystique is the one that changes her appearance.
Nightcrawler is the one that pops in and out of existence.
Yeah. Bam.
Mystique.
Yeah. Mystique. And
the other blue one.
Morph.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, what do they call it? The House of Black and White from Game of Thrones, which is the men with
the no-face man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odo from Deep Space Nine, who
is a changeling.
Star Trek.
Yeah.
We can go to Star Wars. There's that changeling assassin in one of the prequels.
Is there?
With the dart.
Oh, Toxic Dart.
Yeah.
Toxic Dart, by the way, was the moment that I gave up on the fucking Star Wars sequels. That was...
Prequels.
All of it. I gave up on literally...
on Star Wars.
I was done. Star Wars is done.
Yeah, I'm fucking...
The war was over.
Cancelled.
I was fucking done. I tried through pod racing and
Toxic Dart.
Oh, the fucking worst dialogue. Would you ever play a Changeling?
I've played a Changeling before.
Have you?
Not in 5th edition, though.
How was it?
In 3.5, I played one.
Did you like it? Did you have fun?
I did. It was a very good campaign that we played. I had a lot of fun playing that character.
Did you lean into the Changeling a lot, or were you focused on other things?
Focused on other things. I think the way that we played it in that campaign, though, was that the mask that I had slowly became my permanent. And so, like, there was almost like this weird punishment of, like, the longer I stayed in my mask, the more it became a part of my actual persona, and I started to lose touch with who I was originally. And that was kind of like a weird psionic thing that we did at the table. But that you don't have to do. That was just the way we played it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I had, when I was DMing, I had a Kalashtar. I'm stuck in the past. I had a changeling. His name was Garrow. He was the lieutenant of the Emerald Claw, who was the main antagonist. And I kept dangling him in front of them as other characters, but they never picked up on it. And like some of it was like, how would they? Right? But there was one point where I put them all on an airship, and the guy's name was Garrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was a vampire as well. Like there was some stuff going on with him. But I changed his name to Captain Regro, which is just the letters rearranged.
Just an anagram of...
Yeah.
Fuck.
And they were on the airship for a while, and like shit was going on, and the airship finally crashed, and like players died. I think I killed 3 players, and we had to like make up some stuff to remedy that really quick. But they never at all clued in that Regro was Garrow. And it was just like, it was just so much fun to have this like, little storyline that only I knew about. Mm-hmm. Only they had no clue what was going on. And I just kept like dropping this here and there. And then later on I could, oh, by the way, did you blah, blah, blah. How does he know that? Because he was there, guys. Oh, so he knows this too. Yeah. Oh, okay. So like there was a lot of fun with that.
But would you play one as a player?
No. As a DM, they were a great tool.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. It's not my style, right? That's not the kind of game I like to play.
Yeah, I know.
Right. I want to hit things.
You like killing stuff.
Although I have been a rogue a lot lately, and that could fit here, right?
I gotta say, I'm not interested in Changeling at all, but I have DM'd a couple of changelings. Charlie's last character was Draven was a mastermind rogue, which came with a whole bunch of like disguise kit and changing stuff. And he walked in at like level 19 in that campaign.
Yeah.
So he had all the high level shit, right? And he decided to be an ASMR, but he was waffling on whether or not changeling would be a good fit. And he figured, I get all this shit anyway through my subclass. I don't need this.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun with that as you guys, the rest of the players, slowly unveiled that he was actually 3 other NPCs that you'd already met up till that point.
Yeah.
And so
ridiculous.
He and I had planned out ahead of time in my prep before the session. I'd be like, Charlie, you're not coming yet, but what would your character do in this scenario? Here's what we're doing. And so it was fun to line all that shit up. And also, a couple of campaigns ago, I managed to completely bamboozle the entire party by having an ASMR, like, protector of nature and good be the steward of the city that they had founded, only to backstab them all because it was actually Blue Dragon who had polymorphed. So that is the kind of shenanigans that I feel like I would get up to with a changeling. But if I'm going to have them be evil like that, I'll just use a doppelganger.
Yeah.
Right? So it depends on the scenario as a DM. As a player, it's not my style. I'm not going to really lean into this. And if I was going to, it would be for interest and comedy's sake. Like, I get angry. So the dwarven beard that I have goes from jet black to purple because I'm no longer focusing on it.
It's very like one-shot hilarity options. Yeah.
I was kind of sitting here thinking a fun one-shot would be your characters make their players, but they show up and then you tell them that they're all actually a changeling with a multiple personality disorder, and they have to navigate this little scenario. I think that'd be a riot.
You just have
only one of you could talk at once.
Yeah. Oh, could you see the vein in Dan's head going? Dan, it's not your turn.
That's really funny.
Right? Isn't that great?
I'm a big fan.
You don't even have to tell them about it, right?
No.
You just drop that at the end.
Yeah.
Bad segue.
Warforged.
Actually, good segue. So the changeling that I played in 3.5 was best friends with a Warforged, and he actually put a saddle on him so that I could, he would just throw me into battle the way that Dan's character does now.
Holy
but
shit.
It actually was spring-loaded so that it would yeet me.
You get catapulted into battle?
Did the party artificer make this?
It was a Warforged that he made himself look like a beetle, and his name was Beat All.
Hashtag Eberron.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's your segue. Warforged.
Warforged. So, if you're not familiar with Warforged, they came around from the last war. The Warforged population has only been around for about 30 years, and they don't really know how old they get because of that. None have really aged out. Now, they're all made of metal and wood, and in some cases stone.
But it's organic.
But organic. The
the
magic flows through them. A good way that I found to describe it is imagine the grain in wood to be like the muscle strand as well. So when you see a Warforged, you're going to have like armor plating on the outside, but you're going to see that strand inside in the cracks between everything, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
They are humanoid. They're often quite tall, well over 6 feet most of the time. Their eyes are made from crystals, which I thought was kind of neat and kind of
I didn't know
interesting.
that. That's
Yeah, play with it the way you want. Maybe you want them to have sapphires for eyes, or maybe they get,
They're very glowy.
or maybe you find gems and you can swap them out. I don't know. Play with it, right? You can have some fun
When
with
you're
that.
angry, you're like, we put in my angry eyes.
Yeah. The red ones, yeah. Daniel, give me my rubies.
We need you to be intimidating. Okay, get me the rubies.
Dave, you still have the green ones in. Nobody's impressed. Disadvantage on your intimidation check.
What color are your eyes right now? Oh, shit. Yeah,
Still my cat eyes in.
Put them in backwards kaleidoscope vision.
I'm putting my smiley faces today. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, I love this. All the art shows them to have 2 toes and 2 fingers and a thumb. But I don't like that.
That's completely not canon. So.
All of the art in the book is all like that. But that is a bit of a change to me. These guys are made for war. Why would you not give them digits that they can use to manipulate things? They need to do more than grab a sword.
Especially because in previous editions, you would get artwork of them having spider legs in for the bottom half of the body.
That's not really the case in this. It's very in 5th edition.
Yeah.
It's kind of
more
gone away from that.
to be humanoid.
More tradish.
Yeah.
I guess.
I miss having the tank treads.
Well,
you can do upgrades.
Well, sort of. So
we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, right. Okay.
They can be tailor made for different things. Like if you want to have like your brutes, you're going to have some that are bigger and bulkier than others, right? If you have scouts, maybe they're a little more nimble and sleek, right? So
sure.
You will have different models essentially, right? Like I said, they were built for the last war. They're often given not names but numbers. However, that's something that they tend to search for on their own and come up with their own name. In fact, one of my first...
That would be so funny to confuse a fucking party member. Like, you're looking for a specific Warforged model, and they're looking for someone who's like a high fashion model who happens to be a Warforged. like they go, which Warforged? The one literally modeling right now.
Sea of groans.
Draw me like one of your wrench girls.
No, Adam!
Get out. We're done. Pack it up.
Shut it down! We can't finish this. I'm done.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
One of the first Warforgeds I had, his name was Search because he ended up, that was his mission. He started out, he was trying to search for his purpose. The war had ended. And he was still trying to figure that out. The Warforged were first made, 965 YK, which is, are you familiar with the year system? Okay, so YK is their equivalent of like AD, where, so it's that kind of thing.
I mean, I'm aware, but for the folks at home.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. Naturally.
Naturally.
So the oldest Warforged is actually 33 because when you start Eberron, you start on the 1st of January 998 YK, which I love because it gives you that 2-year window to get to the prophecy that happens at 1,000 years, which isn't part of the game. You make that up yourself, but it gives you that like built-in trigger point. I like that. But
did you name your Warforged search after this?
Sort of. He was searching for his purpose after the war. The war has ended. He's trying to figure out where he's going. Okay. He ended up going into Sharn just as a lost,
different
soldier, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out. He actually came across a docent that was number 7, right? So that was the numbering scheme as well. But like I said, many of them do choose their own names and move on. Yes, Adam, he's looking at me. The docent number 7.
I want you to remember this would have been like 2002. The internet was early, but
was young still. So
It's a calmer, kinder place. Like,
yeah, wait for it.
Yeah, so Sean was the DM at the time, and he gave me this docent, and he made the personality for the docent, which kind of gave Search his purpose and his personality. And he became number 7, otherwise known as Grinder.
No.
So Search Grinder was very much Dave's...
Search Grinder, yeah.
Was Dave's very proud...
Yeah, Warforged juggernaut. Like, it was just a big spiky boy, you know?
Yeah, for years. And then,
So that's why he was giggling like an idiot there when I was moving past that.
Context! Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Was he made of hardwood, Dave?
Get out. He just kind of lumbered along.
How much of the veiny hardwood could you see?
Jesus Christ. In this edition, they have souls. They are creatures. They're not constructs like they were in previous editions, which means that healing does work on them. Resurrection does work on them, things like that. Before, you had to use mend or repair to heal a Warforged, which was just absolutely crippling.
Yeah.
Because you're a Warforged, you're probably not a spellcaster, so you're not casting that on yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So...
You're relying on that one person in the party to be close enough to heal you and have the slots to do
right,
it.
and you're not getting benefits from long rests and healing that way.
Yeah.
Because that's not how that works.
That would suck.
Right?
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin here is that you don't have to eat, sleep, or breathe. So you want to go wander around the Mournland with its poison gas and toxic shit? Yeah, be Warforged. Fine, get out there. Right? That was actually one of the things in one of my campaigns, Eberron campaigns, is all of my guys were going to have to... Warforged come from a forge. They are forged. They were going to have to find a forge and imbue their souls into a Warforged body to be able to journey into the Mournland, but we never got that far.
Fair.
Did they forget about that?
Get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
They originated from Sire, which, as we know, has gone bye-bye. It is now the Mournland. And they were created by House Kenneth, who are the making house, the makers, right? As we all know, Megan.
Yes, as we know.
Yes.
Run by Ken Kenneth from Connecticut.
Yes.
Yeah.
In previous editions, you kind of got fancy with the different kinds of armor. You could have adamantine armor and mithril armor, and it would give you different bonuses, and that would be built right into you. So you'd have that as kind of like a built-in racial trait. Now it's a little bit different. When you want to have armor, you have to spend an hour working it into your body and an hour taking it out again. So to don and doff your armor actually takes an hour each.
Interesting.
So they're not doing this when they rest at night. They put it on and it stays on, right? It doesn't really come off. Speaking of resting at night, they don't really sleep, but they do have an inert state that they go into. They're required to rest or be in this inert state for 6 hours to get the benefits of a long
rest. It's like a Windows update.
But they are aware and alert during it.
They just dream of the pipe screensaver from old Windows, and that's all of their dreams, just multicolored pipes moving in other directions.
The black screen with just the white flashing indicator.
Everything was ones and zeros, and I thought I saw a 2.
The other thing in previous editions is they had a lot more options for modifications to their body. You want to have a sword arm? Yeah, let's do that. Written right in. You want to have a big spiked mace hand? Fucking let's go.
And I think the sword arm is still a thing.
I think there's...
But that's the only one that came over.
But there was wand sheaths. You wanted you wanted to just dump wand sheaths all over yourself? Yeah, absolutely. Fucking scorching ray everywhere.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Leave that alone. There was an item called a toric belt. I actually don't know if this was canon or if Sean made this or not. We had a toric belt at my Warforged center.
Yeah, no, it was a real item.
And it turned your lower half into a lion. You were turned into a griffin, essentially.
Interesting.
But Warforged, and you got large and could grapple, and there was wings, and it got funky.
The problem is we only got one book in 5th edition. So all of this other cool shit, just the page count's already over 300.
Yeah.
Right? So there was no way we're going to get all these fun magic items and extra details.
Yeah.
No. When you look at the stereotypes of these guys, though, these are your brutes. These are your laborers. There is a big shift in the way that they are, because they are transitioning from being bred for war, but now there is no war. So what do they do? Where do they go? Where do they fit into society? That's why they find a lot of jobs doing like labor, that kind of thing. You're going to find them protecting a lot of caravans between cities, guard duty, that kind of thing. You want hired mercenaries, Warforged. That's where you're gonna find these guys, right? They do also, when you create your Warforged, there's a list of quirks that you can make as well, or you can pick from as well. Just one example here: you analyze out loud the potential threat posed by every creature you meet. It's just a D8 table, and it just gives them a kind of, but not necessarily a flaw, but a quirk, right? Yeah. Kind of some neat stuff there.
I think that's phenomenal for starting fights with NPCs.
Oh, well, this one looks kind of weak.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Frumpy looking with a lazy eye.
What?
Here's a go. You don't understand clothing beyond its utility and assume it denotes a person's function. Oh. I kind of like that one. That was kind of neat.
All right.
So yeah, some neat little quirks. Play with that as you want. You do what you want. Add things to that, or like I said, their lifespan is unknown. The oldest ones are 33. The youngest ones are about 2. They kind of stopped making them after the war, right? So you don't have new Warforged, and they don't have a youth age. Like they come into existence and they get trained, ready to go. You know, there's not a lot of downtime because of all of this. They are immune to magical aging, bull honky. If you try to age them magically, it will not work.
There's stuff on the Wild Magic Sorcerer table that ages you as well. Stuff in Tomb of Annihilation. I think Tomb of Horrors, actually.
Even being possessed can age you. Right?
Yeah.
They show no signs of age-related deteriorating. Like, even the oldest ones aren't breaking down. They're still working very, very well and show no signs of slowing down. Right? Which is interesting. In fact, to go in a little bit more lore, there is a Warforged called the Lord of Blades. He is rumored to be number 1, and he's apparently running around in the Mournland somewhere with a band of Warforged that follow him. Again,
they're evil.
So evil.
But there's no sign that he will ever slow down and wear out or break down. This could be a long, overarching bad guy. They are medium size. They move 30 feet, standard, pretty much same as everything else. They have an ability called Constructed Resilience. They get advantage on saving throws versus being poisoned, and they get resistance to poison. They don't have to eat, sleep, breathe. They're immune to disease, and they can't be put to sleep magically. All right, that's all the same ability. Okay. They also have Sentry's Rest, which is what I say. You got to do the 6-hour rest. You're inert, but you're still aware.
Sorry, I wonder if it's 6 hours so that you can spend an hour doffing the armor, get your rest in, and then an hour donning the armor.
Yeah, it could be. I also thought it maybe just... It's a way to not take up your entire rest. You can do a couple of things, like attune to stuff, but it means that you have to do that in a long rest, not a short rest.
Yeah.
Right?
I just think that because of the rule, and I mean, 5th edition has rule sets and rulings, not rules. But one of the things that it says is that you do not get the benefits of a long rest or sleeping if you're wearing your armor. Now, the other general rule that most DMs follow is the specific overrides the general. So, like, this would be a specific case of, no, these guys are different.
Yeah, I'm not going to make you.
They don't require sleep, right?
No, but they do require this inert stage. Well, you have to have some sort of mechanism, some sort of trigger to regain your hit dice, right? They took them from being a construct to being a creature.
But I think that's their way of getting away from the original rules don't apply because it's not sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm comfortable actually either way on this narratively. We never say, oh yeah, I'm going to go into my tent and take off my armor for 5 minutes, and then we don't do that in our
Professional
game,
courtesy is a thing that you can give to your players.
Although I will say one of the things that we should probably start doing is when you're interrupted in the middle of the night by a random encounter because the person on watch rolled poorly, you should not be getting your AC bonuses from your armor.
We've done that before though in your campaign.
We have, but
I loved being a barbarian.
And there was many, like especially when I was playing my paladin, there was many a fight we did at night where I was in my night skirt.
Yeah.
Like
and Acro was just naked. Every fucking time.
We've played this before. So don't say we haven't done it.
No, we haven't done it in this campaign currently. So.
No, the other neat thing about this armor is that it can't be removed unless they're willing while they're alive. When they're dead, you can remove the armor.
Rip that shit off,
Yeah, but I like that because they're not going to, we found this spiked armor in this chest or got this bad guy. They can't use that. They will need to get some modifications done to make that work for them. Yeah. Or, you know what, you guys kill a bunch of Warforged, you're not finding armor to replace the stuff the Rust Monster just took away from you.
Sure. Right? Yeah.
The other neat things they get are they have this specialized design, so they get +1 to any skill proficiency, and they get a tool proficiency as well. Just kind of, you're a machine. You should probably know how to fix yourself. Here's some tools, I guess.
I wonder if the tool proficiency is more about this is the training that you had for the war, because that tool proficiency could be,
yeah. You're a soldier. Here's this. You're a scribe. Here's writing.
You're a medic on the battlefield.
Yeah, I feel like this is you've learned how to repair your brothers on the battlefield.
You drive the vehicles, right? Because there's lots of vehicles in Eberron as well, and those are all tool proficiencies, right?
Yeah, that's fair point. But yeah, other than that, they just get common in any other language. That's really all there is to them.
Fair. Yeah. All right, dice.
Yay!
Let's roll initiative. I have questions. Now I get my nat 1.
I got a 6.
I had a 13, but I got knocked to an 11.
Still winning.
Twice as good as me, Dave. Twice as many ones. So,
no?
Yes. What would a Warforged settlement look like?
Probably a war camp, right? Like it's going to be
function,
right? Function. There's probably not a lot of latrines.
That's gonna be the difficult part.
Probably not a mess hall,
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's going to be. Honestly, I could see it being Borg-like, where it's just like a chamber where you go and just recharge and then continue on. You don't need a personal domicile, right? That's why these guys are great laborers, because you just go stack them out in the field and let them recharge for 6 hours and then go keep working.
Yeah. I also feel like if they're storing, because my idea for it was along the lines of like they're not going to have like equipment or things that like a regular humanoid is going to require.
No.
So if they don't have food in this encampment and you come across it, this isn't a place you can stay long. In fact, the food and stuff that they would have for those who happen to visit, if it's required, is going to be are going to be preservable. So it's going to be like jerky and things that aren't going to be like fully like sustaining. So you're not going to be able to stay here long.
I feel if you come across a Warforged encampment and you're not supposed to be there, you're probably going the other direction.
Lasered.
Yeah.
As far as settlements go, I think you're right. But I'm thinking about the ones that are trying to find their place in the world and who are cause they're going to be not just great laborers, but they'll be great bakers, because they will be able to just at 4 a.m. get up and start making the daily pies that are going to be sold today, right? They're going to be phenomenal workers as well.
Yes, I think we're kind of getting a little bit away from it, though. They're not autonomous, like emotionless.
No, I was just thinking, like, you don't have to worry about them, like eating the food. They don't need to take breaks, right? They may want to take breaks. They have personalities and stuff, but they need to recharge for a less amount of time. So I like the idea of one that walks into town. It's like, hey, I don't eat. I can't smell anything. I don't require food or drink, but you guys need a baker. And I'm very much interested in doing that properly. And he just, like, for the first little while, they're the most disgusting pastries that have ever been made, right? Like, I filled it with mustard. That's a thing, yes? So...
It rhymes with custard.
Yeah. All I can think of is Full Metal Alchemist for any of those anime nerds, because there is basically a living Warforged that is living like a regular person who was a person turned Warforged, basically. So they have all the skills they had as a human, but now they do them as a Warforged that doesn't require sleep, doesn't require these things. So they now have all this freedom to do whatever they want with their time.
I like the idea of them not understanding the idea of like human nuance and just not understanding that, just kind of being a weirdo.
Yeah.
But in wholesome ways,
Yeah.
Kind of like Anya in later seasons of Buffy, where she'd been turned human and she just didn't understand, like the episode The Body where Joyce dies and everyone's crying and she just doesn't understand why she's so upset about things, and like what are these rituals we're doing? I don't understand.
Yeah, the party walks into town. It's like, oh, we should go to the tavern and get some food and sleep. And the Warford's like, yeah, why?
While you're doing that, I will be upstairs regenerating.
Food and sleep. Yeah.
Okay, what party roles would they be particularly well suited to fill?
Realistically, any. Because they can be specialized. You can have warcasters, war mages. You can have...
archers, ranged weapon users, like so on and so forth.
Right.
Monks.
I would say... honestly, I was going to say the spiritual side is probably where you start to veer away from things. Is because there's probably not a large spiritual history in Warforged.
However, that would be something that they might be interested in, and it's totally within character for someone to say, for a Warforged to say, well, we have a limited population. We require a god to intervene. I will pray to this god.
Yeah, very, very logic-based.
Yeah, and then become a cleric as a result of that. And especially because in Dungeons & Dragons, faith is not capital F faith like it is on Earth, right? Where there's like, you have to see the signs and understand the messages and interpret them, because no one has face to face met a god, unless they're crazy people. In reality, right? However, in D&D, you can. You just like walk up to a god and be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
You got to get to them.
Rules is written.
Yeah.
I can talk to a god.
Yeah. So maybe that is what the Warforged are like. Hey, there are no new ones coming. We are an endangered species. We need a god, right?
We need protection. We need, spiritual intervention. Yeah.
So I can see that for cleric or even warlock. I think they make great wizards. I think they make great artificers. Sorcerer feels wrong.
Can you imagine a Warforged with smites, though?
Yeah.
I love it.
That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
They start to glow first, like they're powering up, and then they hit, and it just...
Their glowy eyes.
like Mjolnir exploding when it hits. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
The Warforged Juggernaut in 3.5 was one of the subclasses.
Yeah.
Or what do we call them? Prestige classes is what they were then. And it was so you had to get to like level 10, and you had a bunch of prerequisites to get there. But you would get the whirlwind attack essentially at the same time. So you could just run around and hit everything within 5 feet. Unless you had a 10-foot reach weapon, they hit anything 10 feet, right? And you just do utter damage to everything you hit. They were just so overpowered.
And also you had whirlwind attack, so you were hitting everything.
Yeah, literally everything within 10 feet of you, if you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
Oh, just crazy.
When it comes to a quest, what are you thinking for Warforged?
Find your purpose.
Sure. We found purpose. She's a tiefling in our campaign.
Yeah, I'm still not thrilled about that.
She just showed up one day.
She keeps doing that, though.
I had the idea of like not necessarily finding your purpose, but let's say you have a Warforged like PC at your table and you're DMing this, and they get injured in battle and it's a permanent injury. Mm-hmm. There's no new Warforged being created, which means that the repair of them might be hard to find, which means that a side quest can be seeking out how to repair your Warforged. Mm-hmm. And how to get that. And then you find out that once you get to the person who's told repairs Warforged, this is the dark side of me, turns to this person is actually dissecting Warforged to figure out how they work so that they can build new ones, because that science is gone.
I actually think the Eberron lore is that the science has been lost through the morning, and it could be somewhere in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. It's that one person seeking it out, and you are going there thinking you're going to get repaired, but actually no, you are completely dismantled, and now you have to figure out how to put them back together.
Parts.
Yeah.
My big problem with the Warforged is the fact that all of them will have had an existential crisis at some point.
Yeah.
And we're not looking too deeply into that. And not every D&D character needs to be tragic, but I do love the Warforged that high intelligence, I've made a wizard. But the point is, they know that they are going to outlive everyone that they're talking to right now. There is no death in sight for them unless it comes at the blade of someone else. Through injury or accident, that is the only way that they can die. So why bother being a part of the life here?
Oh, that's a little too stressy, depressy for me.
But that then makes them the guardian of the little flesh bags, because if you die out here...
Guardian of the flesh bags.
No,
that was my nickname in college, yeah.
Yeah, then you finally got a fly that worked and it was fine. But the idea here is that you are determined to live your life with them. And so this little ragtag band of murder hobos, with the entire universe's odds stacked against them, are going to die. This is a noble purpose, to keep them alive as long as possible as their guardian. And if you die, then that's noble, because it's going to be worse to end up like the Warforged Colossus, which is a broken down chunk of metal, leaning against
rusting
the
and rotting away. Yeah.
Right. So just with that long view of mortality, I feel like that's a good motivation to be the healer as well, right? And try to keep everybody up. Maybe that's why you're a necromancer. My friends cannot die.
Wow, that's messed up. I love that.
Well, because they have no concept of death means something to somebody, right? I don't know. I'm still hanging on to the Warforged working in the noodle house. You know what I mean?
Now, is that a euphemism for the strip club?
Sure.
Yeah. Role-playing tips for Warforged, Dave?
Yeah.
It depends on your purpose, right? When you
when you want to sit down, you want to figure out what you want to accomplish. You want to figure out where what your purpose is, right?
Oh, that's a hard ask.
Well, it is, especially when you're a
Megan
Warforged.
says and drinks some more gin.
Yeah.
Why are we here? Oh, God.
Some existential crisis questions there for 10 p.m. at night. Go on.
Look, but I think your point is a good one. But there are two sides of it. There's what was I made for? And maybe that's why I took 3 levels in fighter. And what do I want to do with my life now that the war's over? And that's why my remaining are in druid, right? Because the war burned down all of these forests, and I understand that these forests are important and beautiful to the elven people that I was fighting beside. So now I've dedicated my life to that. Like,
Well, even, my people come from nature, wood, stone, metal.
Yeah.
Let's be stewards of it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Megan, role playing?
I do like the idea that they don't understand the concept of life and death. And that they just, again, don't have that emotional capacity to house the emotions that your flesh bags will be having when someone dies at the party, like at the table.
But when they die, do they go, do-do-do-do?
I just realized that if some of them are 2 years old, but the war ended 6 years ago, some of them have never seen combat, but were made for combat.
No, did the war end 6 years ago? I thought the war ended 2 years ago.
No, it's 6 years ago.
Was it 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just listened to the first episode of the Touring the Multiverse because
Sure.
yeah.
I'm out of practice, I'll be honest. I haven't played
It's
Eberron
his
in
first day.
40 years. Yeah.
But
Eberron?
Eberron?
Eber off. Yeah.
So the idea here is that some of them will have been built and then never saw combat. So the first time that they kill someone, it'd be like picking up the corpse and shaking it to be like, wake up, wake up. I think I broke this one. Wake up.
Shakes it way too hard,
Yeah.
fails another death save.
Walks over to the dead party member. Oh, he can't see without his glasses.
Too soon?
It sounds so terrible. It's like that weird, like a super emotional moment where it's just like we're trying to wake them up. We're just like, it's okay. Like we just need a piece of pizza. You're gonna be fine.
You absolutely missed the thing that I posted on the Discord this morning about the eclipse. And it was the picture of her screaming, he can't see without his glasses, but she's holding fucking eclipse glasses at the side of the...
Can't see the eclipse without his glasses. Yeah, you're welcome, by the way. Yeah.
Oh man, so glad it was super cloudy here in Vancouver for that.
What's a good indication from pop culture about how to play a Warforged? Where would you get your inspiration from?
I mean, I'd love to say Terminator, but that's probably not the case.
No.
Although there is a bit of resilience to them, like because they don't sleep and breathe, you sink a ship, they're going to walk out of the water on land and come after you, right?
Although the Terminator show, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Great TV. Great. Love it.
Yeah, but there was far more character development as she learned the Terminator and it learned more about humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that actually is a decent example.
It is.
I mean, I want to say Groot just because he's made of wood and big and tall and kind of brutish, right? Like kind of fits the MO
Sure.
for the most part. Doesn't have a lot of purpose and personality beside of, I was made to womp things and move on.
I am Groot and I protect the ones I love.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Transformers?
Ooh, that one's tough. I was gonna say RoboCop.
That's actually a good one.
That's not a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love me a little Christ metaphor in the middle of my D&D.
Yeah, little come to Jesus moment,
Battlestar Galactica. They've got, this is a spoiler for later in the series, but some of the main characters turn out to actually be robots and they didn't know it. They're Cylons and they had no idea that they're like sleeper agents.
Yeah, what's his name from Alien?
Yeah, like Bishop and whatnot.
Bishop, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call him
Also,
Baxter.
if you guys want an episode on Battlestar Galactica, I got you.
Oh, fuck yeah, me too.
Like-
That's cool. And Sean, we're the only people.
I
Fucking
have
love
never
Battlestar
watched an
Galactica.
episode.
It's fucking great.
I was upset. There's a reason why my name is Kara in everything.
Is that why?
That's why it's Kara.
Nice.
Yeah, my
Cool.
dad used to call me Starbuck because I look like that goddamn actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Oh, not because of the coffee.
No.
No, okay.
I didn't know that, and I'm so happy about that. I'm glad there's another Battlestar Galactica nerd.
But that's why, because my name in Final Fantasy Online for so long was Kara Ice.
Yeah.
And that's because it's Kara Thrace, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why her name is that. But
It all
I was
comes together
obsessed.
for me.
Yeah.
Also, to a lesser degree, Westworld, but season 1 was so good. I have not watched any of the other seasons. That's not true. I watched half of season 2.
But I feel like that's a good
Failed.
inspiration for like what a group of them would look like in interacting with each other if they didn't know
Yeah.
what they were.
Or
Yeah,
if
a
they're
little
trying
bit.
to find their purpose after, like, spoiler alert, the end of season 1, the park goes nuts and the
Jurassic
machines
Park
get it.
fails. Can we just...
Right, so, but I mean, and then they got to figure out their place in life,
Yeah.
right? And in a futuristic
vacuum of some kind.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much Eberron right there too. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of, actually, now that I stop to think about it, there's a lot of
Robot versus human non-sensory out there.
yeah. You could play it up like Data too. I mean, not to go back to Star Trek again, but
You can, but I feel like we're giving them a bit of a bad name. Like, these are not emotionless automatons. These are people too, right? They do have emotions. They
Yeah,
do
but, like,
have
if you-
feelings.
but Cylons and half of
Westworld's-
Westworld, they function as people.
Fully functional as
Like-
human beings with emotions. But they also had an understanding from a digital aspect of what death meant.
Yeah.
But they when it comes down to brass tacks, they technically didn't understand what it meant.
Oh, that's my fucking moment for Warforged, by the way. There's one really haunting scene in the first season of Westworld where they enter a warehouse where all of the other, like, bodies, all the versions of these robots are just standing turned off in stasis. And, like, they open the door and you see hundreds of just inert robots just standing there, waiting to be turned on. When you get into the Moorland to find the original Forge,
You gotta walk through these giant fields of just
Oh.
inert Warforged.
yeah.
Oh, frightening.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
As they walk past, one eye glistens.
Chills.
One emerald sparkles.
Yeah.
iRobot,
Oh, yeah, iRobot.
right?
Yeah, I do really feel like we're zeroing in on robots, and that's not what they are.
Yeah, it's not.
Right?
No.
They are humans made of wood and stone and metal.
But with almost no memory of, but like you could take any sort of like amnesiac from anything as well, and be like, I don't know who I am or where I came from or what my purpose is. I got to relearn my shit, and that would be a decent inspiration.
They
for
do
Warforged.
fit the fish out of water quite well.
Yeah.
Right?
So, all right. Any final thoughts on these guys before we actually, would you play one in a campaign, Dave?
You know what? Let's change it up a little today and go with a yes. I would.
Okay. Megan, would you play Warforged?
I would not.
It's funny. The Warforged, I'm only going to look at them for mechanical purposes because they fit just about any one of the subclasses
Yeah, NPCs,
across any class. Right?
phenomenal. I would not do it
Yeah.
as a player character. No.
But yeah, I'm not inspired to play them because I'm going to, if I play a Warforged wizard, I'm just going to play the most wizard that ever wizard, right? It's the same thing, the most fighter that ever fighted, right? So like all of this shit, because they will be designed specifically to do this thing, they should be an exemplary version of it.
Yeah. Scientifically perfect.
Yeah. Because just because they were designed, and maybe that only gets up to level 5. And then beyond that, they've got to find out who they are after that. I'm interested in playing a Warforged if we start a campaign at level 7, right? But I don't want to go through the
Growing pains.
growing pains of it first, right?
Yeah, I agree. They get a lot more fun the later you get. Right?
Yeah, as they learn more about the world and stuff. So,
Yeah, fair enough.
So, that pretty much covers most of what we have to say. But before we wrap it all up, let's cut to another brief info break.
If you've been inspired by the conversation in this episode, please feel free to reach out and share your creativity and ideas with us and the rest of the community. You can reach us on Facebook and Instagram, or on our subreddit r/itsamimic. Also, if you're feeling particularly generous, please follow and subscribe and leave us positive reviews, likes and comments. Engagement like that help us pop up on search engines and keep this show running.
So there used to be a lot of different body modifications available for Warforged. We kind of touched about it a little bit earlier in the episode. But as a DM, is there one upgrade that you'd give a Warforged player character at your table? Like auto give? Like that you have in mind?
Auto give? Yeah, I would probably give them some sort of crystals that give them dark vision just to check that list off. Check that off the list. Kind of like get rid of that. Let's move on.
Let's not talk about whether you have dark vision or not.
Yeah,
every
you got
fucking
smoky
session. Yeah.
quartz. You know, you got dark vision.
Give me my quartz.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Wand Sheaths were so fucking good.
They were a little OP though, because you could. You didn't have to have a hand free to use a wand, right? So you could.
You would point your fist in that direction and cast the spell out of your arm, and then you would work through the charges and just eject the wand like it's a magazine.
Right, and then you could empower and twin and maximize.
Well, that was all crazy artificer stuff, which is now all that meta magic is locked to sorcerer. So
Yeah, it's a little different. You could just wand sheath. There's 1,500 damage.
I'm going to tell you the thing. They don't touch on it a whole lot in the Rising from the Last War book that we got for 5th edition. Docents. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a docent.
Yeah, it's just an upgrade, right? Like a
Upgrade.
Yep.
with 3 Ds.
No, 2 Ds for a double dose of his pimping.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I just watched it not that long ago.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Lord. Oh man, I don't know. I like the modifications that make it either run faster or jump higher, because I feel like that's the most frightening thing in the world, to be like charged at by a Warforged. And the visual of that just makes me laugh out loud, so I really like it.
Yeah, that's kind of, you can do some upgrades. That's one thing they don't get into really in the books is upgrades. And then, like, that's, yeah, you're right. It's so ripe for it, you know?
But I feel like as a DM, you can kind of help that along if you wanted to, right, for your Warforged. Especially if it takes damage where, like, they lose a limb and they go to someone to get, like, something replaced. Like, you can fit that in without getting too, like, modification-y.
What about fitting in things like wings or things like that?
I feel like you need to have a reason for that shit. Like, if you're going to have a modification like that, there has to be a reason why it was built for you.
When you get to the forge, you find that there are wings for other versions of your model or whatever, right?
And you're like, ooh, I picked that one.
Right, and so, honestly, I just interrupt you. I just see like a battle going on in a forge, and you have to like keep putting yourself into a different body, a different Warforged to like complete the scenario. Like your soul possesses different Warforges as you keep...
Yeah, the forge is running, and every time you die, you get dropped into the next closest one.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I forget what I was going to say. It was...
Sorry, you like...
Yeah, that was...
It was a good idea. I had to share.
Make that your big bad evil guy at the end of the game too, that has all these dead Warforged around, but he can move his soul into...
Oh yeah, you walk into the big bad evil guy's lair, and there's all these dead Warforged on
like,
the
how
ground.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay.
You kill it once and it moves into another one, and you have to not only kill it, but destroy all the Warforged around you.
Hold on, I'm taking notes. So here's the thing. I just gave you guys a bunch of blessings and boons and wishes at the end of level 6, and everybody got something a little bit different. If my Warforged wants to play something that's a mechanically weaker subclass, like Purple Dragon Knight or Alchemist or one of these ones that are just mechanically not that great, what's the Way of the Four Elements monk? Not awesome. I will absolutely give you modifications every time that you get an ability score improvement.
Yeah.
You can then move an extra 5 feet. You can now see... this is how you get dark vision. Like, I will let you upgrade as you go.
Yeah, you could even do neat things like if they're a rogue, you could give them eyes that maybe give them an advantage to tracking, right? Something like that.
Yeah, or if you're like an archer, you just get like sharpshooter at some point, right?
Yeah, I think that I would beef up my Warforged, but I gotta make sure that it's mechanically balanced.
In comparison to others. Like, it has to happen around, like, everybody gets a little something.
Exactly, yeah. And I like to hand them all out at once, so there's no, like, power imbalance in the meantime. But I know a lot of people that'll be like, over the span of this level, everyone will have the opportunity to do one thing, but then the person gets it last feels like they've missed out, right?
Anyway, that's all for this part on our discussion on Eberron races. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, comment, and review to help push our engagement, and don't forget to subscribe to find future inspirations for your campaigns.
If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website, itsamimic.com, as well as a fancy Patreon. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. Thanks for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're gonna get.
This has been an It's a Mimic production. Please check the show notes for this episode to see links, time codes, and credits, and don't forget to reach out and share your own inspirations.
But the last kind of piece here is,
Is that what it is?
yeah, very much.
That's what I was going to say.
Sorry, the last little piece to note is that they are inherently neutral. But going into their, oh god. Hold on, let me have a sip of my gin. Like, you can go either way with them, right? Like, you can either, like, use them to avoid, but they're... What the...
Sorry.
Is it your first day?
Dave.
It's actually probably your first day in months, but...
I have had this on silent for years. I don't know why.
Today is the day.
Sorry.
Is that your booty call, Dave?
No, it was work.
Even worse.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock at night. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so the reverse booty call.
Get out of here. Was that your stomach?
I am so hungry.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I didn't eat today.
Where are we going after this, to you? Anyway,
Fair enough.
Anyway, that's all for this part of our discussion on settlements in D&D. On settlements, that's not it.
Nope.
Wow.
I'm in the right thing, though.
You are, yeah. I'm reading the same thing you are.
Okay.
Eberron races, Dave.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, that's where we are. You put it in front of me, I will read it. Okay?
All right, hold on a
Let me change
second.
it. I couldn't even think that.
Anyway, that's all.
Fucked with you now, didn't we?
Anyway, that's all for Fuck You, Dan. Megan, stop typing! Anyways, that's all for this part of our discussion on Eberron races. Please take a second. Screen timed out.
You're a fucking mess.
That's great. I've been up since 3:30, except for that little nap I had this afternoon. Anyways.
That's it for this episode on dicks. Sorry, wand sheaths.
Okay, see you next time.